Morning, this is Al Vickery at AL Waters Capital in Braintree, Massachusetts, and this is your morning call for Friday, January 21st, 2011. Again, in the equity markets, we're seeing very, very slow movement. The Dow finished almost nearly perfectly flat yesterday, about 2 points down. Things were a little worse for small cap stocks, which investors moved away from. The Russell 2000 gave up about 1%, a little bit more than that. Things are looking a little better today, but we don't expect to see a whole lot of movement depending on some other factors. Investors are largely keeping an eye on corporate earnings, which we have several coming out today, and they've been generally good lately. Very little economic data coming out today to finish off the week. Precious metals, gold, of course, tumbled yesterday. We saw a drop of about $25 for gold as investors kind of piled out of the appeal of gold as a hedge for two reasons. First of all, inflation is a growing concern. Now, gold is a hedge against inflation, and we do have inflation in some of the economies around the world. 8% in India. We've had some high numbers in China. Brazil just reacted to a rate over 6% by hiking rates. Indonesia has been mentioned, and even in the UK, above 3% is above the target there for the Bank of England. And while they say that probably won't last, it's still on the minds of investors. So what happens now that we're here and we're starting to see the strong economic stimulus, a loose monetary policy begin to show its face in higher inflation? That means the central banks will face having to react. Now, granted, they're in a tough spot because recovery isn't strong in some of these areas, and they don't want to put a damper on that. But investors are starting to realize, well, eventually the central banks are going to have to react to inflation, start tightening up on monetary policy. And this has got investors thinking about that hedge that they've used gold for. So gold reacted a little bit yesterday. It's leveled off a little bit today. Generally speaking, we should be near the bottom. We're at about 1347 this morning. We may see a little bit more of a pullback, but we've also seen strong demand in India, physical demand, and in Asia, where typically bargain hunters will step in as prices pull back like this. So we're probably in the tight range that we will stay in for now for gold. Rare earths are also continue to be in the news. Some formal numbers came out of China showing that their export of these materials came down by 9.3% last year, and we expect that to actually become even tighter. Meanwhile, prices for rare earths have actually tripled over the course of this past year, so there's also been word of a lot of illegal smuggling. Meanwhile, the government in China, through one of their agencies of land and ministry, took control of about 11 properties, and this is in the news. And word is that they plan on nationalizing several more operations, so they're really tightening up on the rare earth industry. It's a major issue there. So we can expect to see continued hype talk about the rare earth industry probably for the rest of this year, maybe longer. Molycorp is the furthest along in terms of being ready to produce as far as a U.S. manufacturer. Several Canadian companies, the Japanese, are all scrambling to try to make sure that the long-term supply of rare earth minerals remains intact. These have been very critical towards high-tech devices, medical devices, military purposes, and the like, and have really become the talking point over the last few months. So we'll see a little bit of upward movement in stocks today, probably not a whole lot. The focus is basically on corporate earnings, which have been good and probably will continue to be mostly positive. So we'll see some slow movement. We should see a slight recovery in gold prices after perhaps a little bit more of a pullback, but the physical demand is already increasing and should add some support to prices. And then we'll get back to a more of the longer upward trend. So until next week, have a good day and happy trading, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.